welcome to the Property Unleashed podcast with me, Mark Fitzgerald. And today I have another special guest joining me. This guest is a serial sort of entrepreneur. She has built her own businesses and she's a fantastic character. And I really am privileged and happy to have her joining me here today. Emma Mills is the founder and owner of MIPA. And MIPA basically remove the hassle from business owners as they build their businesses, whether they're property businesses or whether you're just building, conventional businesses. MIPA will probably have a solution to a need that you have. So welcome to the show, Emma. It's great to have you on.
Thanks, Mark. I am very, very happy to be here today.
Great stuff. Great stuff. So for people, obviously, if they don't know anything about you or anything like that, just tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I run a business called MIPA, as you've mentioned, and I guess my life has been very much all about PA support, personal assistance. So I was a PA before I started my business for about 5 or 6 years. Loved it. I love the relationship you build with the person you support. I love the way you impact them. And so in my mid-20s, when I knew I wanted to start a business, but also really liked what I did. I did what most people do, which is use their skill set and knowledge to create a business. It was around about 2008. So it was just like becoming a word, virtual assistant, and a concept of outsourcing and delegating. And I became a freelance PA for around about 3-4 years. And then I got fully fledged into, right, I'm going to make this into a business. And over the past 10 years now, I'd say it's like kind of 2012 when I took on my first member of staff, we've grown organically.
Brilliant. And would you say, obviously it was back in 2008 and things, it was quite a new sort of concept in this country to have virtual assistants or PAs and everything like that. So, obviously conventional way was office work and things going back there. So, when you were starting out, did you find it tough going?
It's interesting that I feel like maybe a lot of business owners do, but when you start something and you don't really understand like the enormity of what you're doing, or you just kind of get into it. And I did the thing that most business owners do, which is join all the networking groups, go to BNI. Also at the time, I didn't realize we were like going into a massive recession. And I think a little bit of ignorance sometimes is good in that you just want to get started. You just do it. So I just spent all my time going to networking events and supporting people personally with freelance support and building up my hours until I got so busy that I needed some support. But I can't say. It was definitely around that time that it was like known enough that people were getting it. It's not like it is now and so prolific, but doing the circuits of BNI and all those kind of networking events, I found it really, really responsive, receptive to, I need some help but not necessarily full time. It was obviously you learn a lot in the beginning of your business when you're doing all that and you're kind of finding your way and you're understanding what people want. So it was a real testing ground, I guess, and education of what MIPA has become later in life.
That was brilliant. So when you were obviously building it up, you're bringing in work, and I know a lot of us, as we start out, we just say yes to work and we pull it in more and more, and you get really, really busy. All of a sudden, you sort of got a bit of a lifestyle job. It becomes a bit of a beast.
Yeah.
Was your intention from the very beginning to make this into a business, or was it just to really have it as your job?
My intention always was to make it into a business. I was very hyper aware that to get from to there to here, I didn't really understand. I knew that I really, really wanted it. And that's probably the one thing that's got me through most of this, is that I knew that I really, really wanted it. So you just kind of have to figure out the way, don't you? So I knew that I wanted that. And in that first 5 years, at the side of me, like most of us, huge bookshelf, lots of, been on lots of courses, read lots of things. So, after 3 or 4 years, I got to that stage, like you say, where you just build it up. And it's like a real, it takes over everything, until I had enough hours and clients to get another part-time. So I had a part-time VA as well in the early days that then outsourced. I outsourced some work to her, and that's how I got it up to a point where I could start to employ somebody and move on from there. But yeah, I always knew I wanted a business, didn't know how I was going to get there properly with like a big team and me not delivering the support, me doing things like this all day. You know, that was my dream. But I mean, yeah, it's 14 years later now, just a lot of like trialing, testing, learning. Like the one thing I always thought, and I wasn't kind of being critical on myself, is that I didn't think I knew that what I wanted to do, but I knew I didn't have all the skills at all of like marketing, of leading a team. So I've been very much aware of like, I need to like learn and learn and learn. Otherwise, I don't have a clue what I'm doing. But I'm sure we're all like that, in that you just need to keep going, well, what about this and what about that? So yeah, no, it's been a great journey.
I think the trial and error approach to some point is worth it anyway, because it gives you an idea of what goes into things. And then as you grow your business and your brand, you've got more of an understanding that, it's not as easy. Because I mean, particularly with marketing, it's like, well, marketing's easy. You just send out flyers, leaflets, you just put social media. No, you need a bit of a strategic approach to it. And until you've actually done it for yourself and seen the amount of work that can actually go into that, you can sometimes just sort of dismiss things in business. Well, I can personally, as a business owner, you just think, well, that should only take 5 minutes, just get it done. Whereas it actually, it takes a couple of days to actually get traction and things. So, I mean, in your business, of course, bringing in people, were you initially, as you were growing it, were you looking for people with sort of expertise that you didn't have, or were you looking for the same sort of people as yourself, just to sort of stay in line with what you were offering in services?
So my approach in the earlier days was to employ people that could deliver the service, because I knew that I could teach other people to do that and do it in my PA way, and how to be a shit hot PA and how to like support someone really well. So my approach was, and I know obviously you should employ people that are better than you in certain areas, but my initial approach in the early days was just to be able to get leverage of my time, of me delivering the client work. And to be fair, that was like an ongoing challenge that I had up until about 2017. It was, where I was delivering lots of client work, then not so much, then getting back into it. And for me, in most people's businesses, if you want to grow and when you deliver client work, that's like one of the things that pulls you back all the time, or like keeps you smaller. So so my approach of employing team members, and certainly up until like 2017, 2018, was to, I guess I was employing doers, the people that were going to deliver the service. And then I was very aware that I was then spending my time upskilling myself on, because I struggled with the fact of, even if you want to get somebody to help you with marketing, or I wasn't an informed person to know what was good or what was bad or what was needed, or so I was very much of like, well, there's definitely demand for this. We were getting lots of leads from our like local networking and things. So I leveraged the client work and then spent a lot of time self-developing to understand what was going to work for us in marketing and other like and the systems and the structure that would help us to grow. And now I'm thankful and grateful that I have other people delivering things, like helping with the marketing and stuff. But in the beginning, it was just all about service delivery and leveraging that.
That's brilliant. I love it. The fact that, you obviously are passionate about this, because you've thrown yourself into it. You've thrown yourself into everything. And I always respect that and admire that. And that's one of the reasons that I wanted you to come on and chat to you, because it's that bubbly personality and never give up, looking to build, looking to make sure it's the best. And I have to say, we'll put links in the show notes to your websites and everything like that. But you've also got a My TV channel as well, haven't you, on your own website, which is like it's almost like a video blog of books, of learnings, of, where you've taken. And I think that's so good, because people can resonate with you. It can watch those sort of things, because in my industry, in the property industry, and I always say to everybody, if you're getting into property big time, you want to be treating it as a business. You want to be a business owner with your property invested. Otherwise, it can really spiral out of control, and you can find yourself just running around and really giving yourself another headache, another massive job, and you'll end up resenting it and hating it. And of course, by using a service like MIPA, I mean, I have a virtual assistants myself as well, because they're fabulous people, but it took me too long. To get them on board. I got up to about 5 or 6 properties, but that gave me, over 30 to 40 tenants. And all of a sudden I was doing everything still. And it was like, crikey, this is growing quickly. And this was in the space of about 6 to 8 months. It was like, oh, I need a hand. So, I mean, there'll be a lot of people with property businesses that are probably in a similar position in the sense that they're thinking to themselves, I need help, but I don't really know what to give people, or I don't really know how to go about these things. So for business owners out there at the moment that are thinking about that and thinking, you know, I've got these certain things, but nobody's going to, and that's my thing, nobody's going to do it as well as me. They don't have to do it as well as you. They just need to do it correctly. And I think that's that mindset. But what would you sort of say to people, and this is a long question for your answer, what would you sort of say to people that are thinking about, you know, I do need assistance, but I don't really know where to start?
Oh wow, that is a really, really great question. In where to start in terms of like what to outsource or where to look for somebody.
Yeah, basically, because I think that's exactly my biggest thing. And just talking from my own perspective was, what do I give them first? Do you know what I mean? What? Because everybody says, well, just look at the operations that you do repetitively that are potentially done on a computer that somebody else could do on your behalf. And that's good. But when you're a bit of a control freak like me, it's very difficult to then sort of try and pinpoint which things you actually want to hand over initially.
Yeah. Well, the first place that I always advise people to look at is the stuff that you don't enjoy, the stuff that you're not good at, the stuff that you hate. You know, like, I mean, unless you absolutely love admin, I'm pretty sure there's lots of things that happen in most people's days where those kind of tasks that like sap your energy, you know, when you finish them, you're kind of not in flow. There's definitely stuff I can do sometimes where at the end of the day, like you feel your energy's lower. It's because these kind of tasks today are not my jam. I shouldn't be doing them. So for me, the first, if you're in that place where you're busy, but you're not entirely sure what to outsource, I would always look at the stuff that you don't enjoy and you're not good at and what you weren't born to do. Like we've all got a specific, you know, for me in my PA, I would love it if I could spend all day doing things like this, like podcasts, my TV, you know, strategy, partnerships, speaking to people. So then if I'm then stuck in, I don't know, creating invoices or chasing payments or then those kind of things, your body naturally feels like I'm a bit like lower energy because it's not what I really love to do. So that would be my first place, is to look at what you don't enjoy doing and getting somebody to do those, because that's a natural, not only are you getting somebody else to do it, but you know, you want to enjoy the journey and what you're doing while you're on it. So you want to be spending your time doing the things that you're good at. So that's where I would definitely look first, stuff that you don't like. And then in terms of like, where to get started in terms of support. So if you've got that mentality of, and I have it as well, of that nobody can do it as better than me, that like temptation to go to like, even to almost give somebody the complete walkthrough or not even let them use their own, you know, like intuition or intelligence to do it. I mean, certainly having, so when you do it, if you've got something in mind to start with, like when you do the task, just creating a very simple guide and creating processes and things isn't, I mean, like it sounds boring just talking about it, but it shouldn't be an onerous thing. For me, it should always just be, okay, well, I would love it if going forwards, my VA could create my invoices. So I'm just simply, as I create the next one, either going to, you know, record it on Loom while I do it, or I'm just going to have a notepad at the side of me with a pen and I'm just going to like write very simple steps. So you've just got a framework, and then tear it off, take a picture of it and send it to the person that you know that you want to help you with it. Like, because having that control freak, like nobody can do it as good as me, the kinds of things that most virtual assistants are generally support, like, I mean, we help lots of people in different ways, but let's say generally supporting with, so they are often process driven things. There's a framework around it. There's a way that good looks like, there's a way that 100% looks like. So just having a guideline or an outline for the person that's supporting you to work to is the way to get rid of that feeling of, well, how, you know, if somebody doesn't know what good looks like, yes, then potentially things are going to go wrong, but just having even a very, very simple outline is the way to get rid of that feeling of, gosh, how are they going to do it? Are they going to do it better than me? And to be fair, the only other way to get rid of it is practice, because the more you delegate, the easier it gets. I don't know if you've experienced. Yes. So yeah, no, just like when you realize that, oh, what I gave them just went really well. And even cherry on the cake is when you give them something and it goes really well and they've done something additional or, you know, something in advance. Those kind of feelings, experiences, that's how you get to delegate more, because you get into the mode of it. It's just like any kind of habit you want to build. Delegating is a habit to build for sure.
No, that's so true. It's almost liberating at the
Yeah.
end of the day.
God, yeah.
When I did the same thing, when I started handing over tasks, initially it was like, it's still not quite how I want it, and and they're asking questions, of course, because whoever you work with, you've got to train them. I think a lot of people think, well, I'll get a VA, it'll be all right, or I'll get a PA, and it'll be okay because I'll show them once and they'll get on with it. But I know from my management background and teams that we had to train, and some people take a bit longer to pick things up, but that you still need to work with them. And it's what I say to people as well when they're interested in getting, a PA service involved. Make sure that you've got it into your head that you're going to work with these people, because the time that you put in with them to make sure that they understand everything, and that's just to be fair, really, with people, and don't just expect them to, use their initiative. At the end of the day, it's it's the same in the building trade. At the end, if you tell somebody to put a light up or a light switch on the wall, but you don't actually tell them exactly where you want that light switch, it could end up anywhere. It can end up behind the door because they're just going to put it where they think. So like you say, it's having that sort of bullet points. Loom is fantastic. And that's what I started doing. I just started recording everything I was doing, and I was putting it into my Google Drive and then letting people use that as training. And it was quite funny because I have a habit of talking to myself. I was talking about what I was doing as well, but I would be humming or something like that. So I used to get little messages from the VA just saying, I've re-recorded that training for you because you swore in that one. I didn't even know I had.
Yeah, like that kind of thing is awesome, isn't it? Because you're like, oh, wow, you noticed that and I re-recorded it. Like, that's like a massive, it's a buzz for me anyway, when it still happens. It's like, oh, wow, you did it for me. But what you just hit the nail on the head there of like, outsourcing stuff is great. And at the end of the day, you want people to take stuff off you and get stuff done. But you have to just be prepared to be in this relationship, to invest some time in it. And depending on like the intricacy of what you're outsourcing, it might be less time than others. But you have to be prepared to like create a relationship, want it to work, want to be able to, if some, like you say, if it's not gone quite right, just correct and learn for the next time, or amend the process that doesn't happen again. We talk a lot about the word insourcing, because the word outsourcing for me makes it sound like you're removed from somebody's business. But I'm sure like with the VAs you've got, Mark, like you would consider them a part of your business and what you do. It's like it's not like you just like shoving tasks out to somebody who you don't really speak to, or a really good VA PA wants to be a part of what you do and wants to be in it, understanding what works, what doesn't, how you like things. So I always think insourcing is a much better description of somebody that really works with you properly.
Well, they are a part of your team because they're an intricate part there, that they're doing the stuff that you don't want to do at the end of the day, and you want to keep people happy. It's the same in any job, in any business. You don't want people to think or be miserable. None of us want to turn up for business, for work or anything and be miserable. If we are, then we need to change what we're doing. And that's exactly the same as I look at with my teams. If people are thinking, I don't like working with him, he's not clear, he doesn't tell. Now, it might be the case, but I always say to them, spell it out to me. I've got thick skin. If I've said to do something and you're not 100% sure, then just tell me you're not 100% sure and we'll go over it again. Because I tend to talk very quickly and I know what I'm like myself. Do you know what I mean? And when you know things, you just think you know it. So no, it's good. I mean, looking at, there's a whole host of different services that you offer from people. But if somebody was relatively small and just starting out, would they need to hire a full-time PA, or would there be a team that could be that could handle their sort of the tasks, if they were just like referencing tasks and maybe like bookkeeping or admin or something like that? How because I know a lot of people are like, well, I haven't got enough work to give them. You know what I mean? So it's like, how many hours do they need to do and all of that sort of thing?
Yeah, no, that's a great question, because for sure, I guess with some PA support as well, or getting somebody to help you, people don't necessarily, they see that as just a cost to start. So employing somebody full time is certainly like a big commitment. It feels quite onerous. And even just the fact of, it's another thing on your list to keep somebody busy 5 days a week, isn't it? Like it's actually can be a stress in itself, that like, oh gosh, what they're going to do next, or what they're going to do on Friday. So in terms of, to get a bit more clarity on that, this is one of my, like what I recommend a lot to a lot of our new clients who don't quite know what to outsource yet or how much time they need. And I'll be honest, like, it's not the sexiest task ever, but just getting a bit of clarity on where you're spending your time currently. And if you don't, like when you get to the end of the day and it's been really busy, but you can't, if you said, oh, what have you done today? You'd just be like, well, those emails were busy, I was answering the phone, I was doing this. You can't quite articulate, well, I did this project. Like, it's just been a busy day, stuff's happened. So people don't often realize where they're spending the time. And I mean, we have a productivity pad, which we give to new clients, but literally just on a blank piece of paper, or there's all sorts of bits of software that do it, just over, like, even if it was 3 days from when you start work till in the evening, just a little light note of, okay, well, I've just spent half an hour in my emails, or I've just spent an hour creating the invoices this week, or I don't know, we won a new customer and it took me 30 minutes to do the quote and all the bits that go with it. So having that is a great place, because even 3 days with, you could say, well, I'm spending like an hour in my emails every day. There has to be something there that I can, outsource, get some time back. So for sure, you don't have to get a full-time person to help you with lots of the things that keep business owners in the weeds, which is emails, calendars, research, operational tasks, speaking to customers, answering the phone, all these kinds of things that happen. And PA support, virtual PA support is one of the ways too, because I mean, at MIPA, our packages start from 5 hours a month. So 5 hours a month is a really manageable amount of time that, I mean, we have lots of clients on it, because for them, it's like, well, it just gets what I need done. I've got somebody to call on if I need this booking on a Friday, or can you just amend this presentation for me today? Or, and it's like a good starting point to get into the mode of delegation. But yeah, if somebody is feeling overwhelmed, stuck in the business, can't quite, always overwhelmed, and it's like that always overwhelming feeling that you can't get away from, is when you need to get some support, definitely, because it just completely like dampens everything else in your business, doesn't it? Then virtual PA support, and there's so many different options, is the way forwards for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And you also, of course, you offer call service as well, don't you? Answer service for busy people. And I think that can be great. And we were chatting before, and you have sales as well, don't you? Follow up sales and things.
Yeah. So follow up is after answering the phone and after inbox management, follow up is our third most popular service. Because what we realize is, I mean, a lot of business owners like the shiny new thing. So a lot of people spend a lot of effort on generating leads, and they're always chasing, like, how many leads have we got per week, per month? How do we get more leads? And often a lot of the big wins can be sat in a list of people that they already have, that just don't get the follow-up, the relationship that that's needed. I mean, we see it ourselves in MIPA. So our mantra is that we just keep following up, like, until literally somebody says, I'm definitely never buying from you. We keep following up. And Helena, who like leads our sales team, she made a sale last week, and somebody had been in our list for, I think it was 3 years ago, they'd entered it. And when she'd called them, they were like, do you know what? Yeah, no, actually I had been thinking about, and it's that kind of, I just feel like it's one of the big untapped things in most businesses, that they probably have a list of people that's in a CRM and that's in a spreadsheet that they're in their inbox. And sometimes just keep, you can get way more out of what you already have. So lead follow up for us. And we refer to it as just having friendly, intelligent conversations that understand where somebody's at and trying to move them along to the next stage in somebody's sales process, whatever that might be. So often, lead follow up is a really quick win, because most business owners, as I say, are chasing the new stuff, don't really give the old stuff the time, and just ringing them up and being front of mind and reminded, like most people need to be reminded to buy from you, don't they? Because you just, I meant to get around to that and I never did it. Yeah, I'm glad you called. So the lead follow up is a big one of our services, so popular with business owners.
No, I think that's great. And I think the fact that you offer that service and everything, I didn't even think about it until we were chatting and everything. And I just thought, well, maybe that would probably need to be me, but it wouldn't. Why doesn't somebody follow up? And then if it needs to be me, because all of a sudden it's like potentially a new client again, then it can be me, can it? Because we'll pass your details on and we'll book a call in with Mark or with Emma. And I just think that's phenomenal, because I know the old saying goes, the money is in the follow-up, but it is. normally it's cost you money to get somebody into your funnel, so to speak, or into your whole system. So, and like you say, all of a sudden they haven't wanted a bought. And I always say no doesn't mean no, it just means not now.
Yeah, exactly.
It's in their lifestyle and everything. They've gone into the back end of your CRM. So why does it have to be you? Because obviously, like you say, we're always chasing new leads. We're always looking. I'm very much the front of my businesses because that's where I like to drive it forward. And you're probably very much the same. But the things that are behind you, the people that are behind you, so to speak, and a lot of the time they really appreciate it. It's like you say, some people might have been thinking about it, sat on the fence. All of a sudden, that phone call just gives them that kick up the backside to say, just jump on a call and let's talk some more and let's see if we can help you. Because that's all somebody will be, I need to do that. I need to do that. Never do it. Never do it. They're not following up with themselves, are they? Because they've got no systems or anything to do. And they've soon enough forgotten about you. So I think that's massive. And I think that can make businesses so much money and get them so many more sort of deals and clients and things that I think it's worth talking to you just to talk about that at the end of the day.
If you know that there's people sat there that don't get the attention they need with a quick call, then definitely it's worth looking at a service like that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm looking at the system at the moment because you've got so many different services that I couldn't remember them all. But of course, you've got managing your diary, handling your inbox, customer services. You'll have more than this, I expect as well. New prospect calls. So, very much with your system, with your follow-ups, you can also have people going out there and talking on your behalf, getting those leads in. Social media. Now, social media is a massive one. I get this all the time saying, I want to do social media. I want to be more consistent on social media, but I never have the time. Some people are still trying to build a business while they may be potentially still working as well, to keep the money coming in. And I always say the same thing, outsource it. Outsource social media. All you have to do really is spend an hour or so, filming something, writing something, making some posts, and let somebody else do the hard work for you. So, that's a service that you guys offer as well, isn't it?
Yeah, and you absolutely nailed it when you just said the word consistency, because that's what our social media is about, is introducing consistency into somebody's life. Like what you mentioned, like my TV, the video thing that I do every week. So for us, I'll record the video just as an example, and then I'm sure it's exactly the same as you do. You record something, and then there is a system of, okay, so we repurpose that into 3 posts a week. 2's video, 1's an image, a caption goes with it. The caption gets repurposed in different ways and stuff. We just, and it's not like reinventing the wheel every night or every week, or having to be creative on, what shall we post this week? Like I give them one thing, and then they do all the, they just carve it up into content and assets. So our social media is basically about what you've said, is taking whatever you've got, the video, the blog, something written, some images in a Dropbox folder, and just getting some consistent, because it is with my TV, I saw that it's the consistency every week that makes the difference. And it doesn't matter if, my YouTube channel or my social post, they've not got like thousands of followers, but it doesn't matter, because I know that even if I get 1 like on it, but that person that's given the 1 like has fully consumed the post. It reached out to them. It helps them. They then are interested in the service. It's not about the amount or the volume of stuff that's happening with your social posts. It's just about getting out consistently, being in front of people's minds, and the right people and the people that are interested in what you're talking about will see it and like it.
Exactly. And sometimes looking at the numbers can get you disheartened, can't they? Or looking at likes. If if you're doing all of this just to get likes, comments, and people to interact with you, people are busy. People are scrolling. But they might like it. They might give it, but they're gonna keep scrolling. But like you say, it's that one person that it stops and thinks, hold on. And I saw your post the other day about that book, which I spoke to you about at the beginning. And I stopped because I thought, if Emma's interested in that book and she's raving about it, I'm going to put that on my list. And then I carried on scrolling. I probably liked it. You'll have to check that. I should have liked it. But at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. But it's that one thing that you've helped me. All of a sudden, I might go away, read that book, and think, do you know what? We're thinking on the same. I like this book as well. I need to look at her business. I want to find out more. And that's really what it's capturing the imagination and minds of people out there. And you've got to be consistent and persistent in that. You can't just put a couple of posts and expect to get the world. Likewise, you don't have to flood the market, but like you say, you've got to turn up in the same sort of places week in and week out.
Yeah, no, totally. It's Daniel Priestley has what's the word, like a survey that Google did of when you then are finally considered in somebody's mind the person they would go to for a service, and the number's 7-11-4, and I think it's like 7 hours of stuff like consumed or in front of them. I think it's across 11 different pieces on 4 different platforms. There was like an algorithm, basically, that's what the word I'm looking for. An algorithm of this 7-11-4 was you showing up consistently just across different platforms. So like I might see you on Facebook, or I might be scrolling through YouTube, and then I see you. And it's just that, even if you don't consume it all, it's just the constant seeing. It's like, okay, well, when I need help with property, or when I want to get started in property, Mark's in my mind. That's so it's just that consistency that's so important.
Yeah, no, it's great. And of course, you're helping business owners do this. We've all got busy schedules, particularly, I know yourself, if you own a business or you're building a business, you're a busy person at the end of the day. As long as your business is doing well, you want to be busy, but it's making sure that your time's spent on the right things, isn't it? And that's where I think the services and things that you've got under your roof pretty much cover near enough everything you could possibly need, don't they?
I think in terms of you yourself as the business owner and what you get stuck in, the operational part and anything like customer service, like those are our 3 areas basically. You as the business owner, ops, and customer service. And the way I always look at it is, as I've grown my business over the past 14 years it is now, and I'm sure anybody here that's had a business even for a year or two, you would just love somebody to be able to pop up to solve a problem that you've got. Like this, there's an issue in your business, or you're spending too much time doing that, or you'd love someone just to be able to, oh, can you just look after that for me? That's our ethos at MIPA, that we want to be that like plug-in service. Just go, right, what in those 3 areas, is there somebody, you don't have somebody to do it, you're trying to do it yourself and you don't have enough time to do it, it's not getting done at all. And having that, rather than having to go, right, I've got to recruit, employ, get somebody managed and motivated in our way of doing things, our service is about having that like plug-in, almost that insourcing, to go, right, do you know what? We don't get any Google reviews. It would be really great if somebody could spend an hour a week bringing up customers to get Google reviews. That's a task that would get done, but just literally in our business now, nobody's got time to do it. That kind of idea of, we would just love this to get done. Can we get somebody to do this project? That's our ethos for supporting business owners, because it's just so hard to find the right people that that are in your way of thinking, or that you don't have to manage and motivate loads. That's what the virtual PA support's about.
And it's such a great cost saving. If you think, a lot of companies, old thinking companies will think, well, I need to employ somebody for this, or I need to get a contractor in for that. But realistically, you can just sort of hand it to us at your company and just say, this is what we're thinking about, work with you, so to speak. This is our vision. This is how we want these things to look, or this is the service that we want. And you guys basically, I'm assuming, you'll tell me if I'm right or wrong, will cater to a point to say, yeah, we can do that. That's along the lines, we do things like this, this, and this. Is this what you're looking for? I'm guessing.
Yeah. No, most definitely. What I often say is, although it's quite broad and not niched at all, it's like, generally, as long as there's an online login to something, like the software, whatever it's driven through, and we can put a guide or a process behind it, we can generally help. Like, as long as we've got those 2 things, whatever that, then we can generally help on it. And in terms of, looking at it as a cost, or I was speaking to one client last week, and he has a 10-hour package from us, like 10 hours a month. It's not loads, it's enough for him, it gets what he needs done. But he has literally made a point of going, okay, I'm paying my PA for 10 hours. And he has, in that, he has blocked out basically like an hour, I think, every other day. It's like 10 hours across the month. And he makes sure that he uses an hour to, it might be like to do something to get more customers. It might be something to help existing customers. He does something tangible to go, I'm going to actually, because you can get support and you can outsource stuff, and you can still just fill your time with rubbish, if you know what I mean. Like, you can still get stuck in the weeds. I thought it was a really cool idea. This particular client has gone, well, I've paid for them for 10 hours, right? I'm going to make sure I get 10 hours back in my calendar, and I'm going to fill it with like, the project stuff to move my business forwards, or maybe I'm going to leave an hour early on Friday and spend time with people I like. He's like actually going, right, I'm going to make sure I get this 10 hours back and do good stuff with it.
No, that's really good. And I like you say, you give us 10 hours to do something, we'll probably get it done in 10 hours. You give us 20 hours, we'll probably get the same thing done in 20 hours. So it's having that sort of purpose. And I think equally, if you said to yourself, I'm building my business, I'm growing it up, I'm going to pay for a PA service to do this, this, and this, now I want to earn, 3 times the amount of what I'm paying them. So what do I need to do in my business to do so and help it grow? And it's having that's the entrepreneurship in you, that's the spirit of driving your business forward and making sure, or as you say, you may be getting to an age where you think, no, I want to take a bit of a step back. So let people sort all of this out. Let me go home early. Let me spend time with the kids, grandkids, or whatever. Do what suits your needs. But I would always say, like you've just said there, which is brilliant, is have a specific sort of reason for doing it, obviously, and then have what can you do to push yourself forward whilst that's being taken care of.
100%.
So I was going to ask you as well, what's the concierge bit?
So the concierge was born from, I guess we started calling it like personal PA support, because concierge people think of as like getting tickets to football matches and booths in restaurants and VIP entry. So our concierge is pretty much our personal PA support, which is all about like life management. So we've got a couple of footballers that we look after, but it's not in like the stereotypical way you might imagine with like getting champagne and parties. And they're both of them are couples, so husband and wife, and we predominantly support the wife in, and it maybe it's like travel, it's downloading the kids' homework, it's making sure the kids go in on a Friday if it's World Book Day and fancy dress, like prompting them and saying, right, tomorrow we're doing this. And it's very much about sourcing all life admin, finding staff, making their lives easier. So the concierge there is very much, it's not about business processes. It's about, right, what stuff have they not got time to do or don't want to do, and how can we help and make life easier?
Oh, that's really cool. I like that. I've not seen that before. I just saw it then. I thought, oh, that's interesting. I need to ask about that. So, I mean, looking at it now, obviously you're 14 years in. Is the business where you want it to be, or what does the future hold for Emma? What are you sort of envisioning? Are there, obviously have to share all your secrets, but what's the sort of plan going forward for yourself?
Yeah, so I always feel like if I'd heard this when I was earlier on in business, it would have helped me. Like 14 years in, it's only in the past year, like 13 years in, where I kind of think, oh, I see how it's all coming together and where it's going. COVID was, we had a good time in COVID in terms of the impact it had on our business and virtual working and all of that. We were kind of in it. We were in the right space to support business owners who then had to change how they were working. So 14 years in, it's only in the past year, like we've grown a lot in the past couple of years. So in the past, like 13 years in, and I'm like, oh, now I get it. Now I understand why I've been through everything in the past 13 years to get to this point. So we've grown a lot. We're in a really great place. My goal and mantra has always been to be the number one choice for PA support in the UK, because in my personal opinion, nobody has particularly claimed that spot. The call answering space is different. There's lots and lots of call answering businesses everywhere, and there's a couple that are huge. But with PA support, because it's actually quite difficult to make PA support scalable in some ways, in that you're doing lots of different things for different people and supporting them. So our sole vision is to be that number one choice, that if somebody needs support, if there's a business owner who's like, oh, do you know what, I'm overwhelmed, I don't get time to do stuff, that my PA is the business that's recommended to be like, you need to speak to them. They're going to be able to help you. And whether that's a temporary fix until you employ someone, but really owning that virtual PA support space is our number one mission. Yes, I know we've got plans to grow the business again next year. I would love to acquire a business. That's on my list at the moment of things to look at. We haven't done that yet, but I'd love to do that. So yeah, no, that's on one goal, to be the number one PA support choice.
Love it. Absolutely love it. Why not? And I have to say, I love the branding, the website and everything as well. The way it comes across, it's fresh, it's modern, it's crisp. It looks really, really good. And it does catch your eye. And like I say to anybody listening to this, you need to go and check out the website, if nothing else, because it is a phenomenal place to be. But the services and the passion that you put into it as well. I've spoken to you a couple of times now. But it comes across, and I love that. That's that. Like I say it again. The entrepreneur spirit in you is flowing, and you're looking at being the best at what you do. Offering that five-star service to everybody in whatever it is that you do. So it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant. So it's about this time. Normally, I like to just ask a few questions to the guests I have. And as I always say, it's more along the lines of I like the answers because it means I can go off and look up books and all sorts of good stuff. But yeah, if you don't mind, I'll just ping a few questions past you and we'll see what we come up with. So what's the best advice you've been given?
Oh, wow. The best advice that I have been given, gosh, there's so many things whirring through my head now. Okay. So this is quite specific to me, I guess. In that I used to get crazily overwhelmed if I didn't feel like I was being responsive enough to people or getting back to people quickly enough. Or I'm definitely quite self-critical on is it good enough? Am I doing a good enough job? Oh gosh, I said I'd email that person yesterday and now 24 hours have passed and I need to do it today. Do you know, like sometimes you can get really, really stuck down. And I have a business coach, he's called Martin Norbury, and we've been working together for about 5 years. And one of it's really, really simple, but for me, it freed up a lot of mental like stress that I would put myself under in it. And he said to me, Emma, you know, you like the stuff that's like becoming very, very that you think, oh, well, okay, let's say, for example, Mark, me and you had a conversation on Friday. I said I'd email you back and it's now Saturday and I'm going to email you on Saturday. And I've got like a lot of like, oh my God, what's he going to think? And Martin basically just really told me to not sweat the small stuff and that what's really, really important to you, you realize that other people have got other stuff going on in their lives. And that, you know, if you email him the day later, he's like, oh, well, do you know, I was busy yesterday anyway. Like I used to get so, and it is, I guess, a self-critical thing and that I want to do well. But I would almost like paralyze myself in that. And I guess also this is where our lead follow-up process came from. I would paralyze myself in that, gosh, well, I'm 24 hours late now. What's Mark going to think? And actually, Mark thinks that he's busy as well and we're all busy and you just need to get on, you know, do you mean it's fine, it's whatever, you just need to get on with stuff. And when I had that conversation with him, it really, really liberated me to just be a bit kinder to myself and just get on with stuff. So it's not like, it's not specific like, oh, do this to get leads but I would just drag myself down in terms of my own energy because I was like constantly trying to, oh, well, what about this? And what will he think or she think? But actually, nobody is actually thinking about you. They're just getting on with their own stuff and they're all busy. And that really, really liberated me just to give myself a break and just to do my best and just get on with stuff.
I think that is a revelation. I'm very much the same. We're probably very similar in nature, to be fair, that if I say I want to do something, I want to make sure I'm doing it. And then I'm just thinking I need to do that because they're waiting for it. It's almost like I think they're sat in their inbox waiting for this email. If it comes a day afterwards, then nobody even batters an eyelid. They're just like, oh, I got that email that you sent, you know, oh, yeah, but it was 48 hours. They don't recognize that, do they? But I think that just comes from us wanting to do things right as well. So, you know, don't sweat the small stuff. Is brilliant because it's exactly right. And I had a coach and a mentor say to me the same thing. They said, don't worry about what people are thinking about you because they're not. Believe it or not, Mark, they're not thinking about you at all. They're thinking about them or thinking about what you're thinking about them. And you're not even thinking about them. So don't worry about it.
It's so true. Yeah. And when we introduced our follow-up service, I've had so many conversations with business owners and they're people with good, decent, you know, they're like, you look at the business, you're like, wow, that's really cool. And you speak to them and they've got a team, they're a business owner, and they're like, God, I remember, you know, I get really embarrassed that I've got this list of contacts and I've not contacted them after we did an event. Or like, there's a lot of business owners that walk around with like embarrassment or guilt that they've not got back to people or like, you know, to me, like, and I see it all the time. And then we introduce the follow-up service because it's like, and I'm like, God, I get it. I get how you feel, but you just need to get out of your own way because these people won't even remember. Or when you do contact them, be like, oh yeah, great. No, actually, I'm glad you've just dropped me this email now. So it's that kind of getting out of your own way.
Definitely. I like that. That's good. Thank you. So if you could sit down and have dinner with 3 people, dead or alive, who would you like to sit down and chat to?
So mine are all alive. So yes, maybe I can make it happen. Number 1, and she's new on my radar, but oh my gosh, she was phenomenal. I saw Sarah Davis speak. Do you know Sarah Davis from Dragon's Den? I didn't know what to say. I haven't watched Dragon's Den for a long time, and I hadn't heard her speak before, but I saw her speak for an hour, and she was absolutely phenomenal. She's the kind of one you feel like you could go for a drink with her. And two, like, she tells stories just like, you know, us chatting here. It's like, wow, this shit happened, this is how I got on with it. Like, she's just very, very authentic, has got the most amazing tales about how she's grown her business. So I would definitely have her around the table. I was really impressed with her. She was fab. Number two is probably a bit stereotypical, but I absolutely love him. Tony Robbins. I would have him around the table as well, because yeah, I just think he's a phenomenal human being. I've been on a couple of his courses. I'm very much into all of his stuff. So I'd have him. And third, completely not business related, but I'm a massive fan. So my favorite program, though quite old school, is Only Fools and Horses. And I would definitely have David Jason at the table. So I love him. I think he's absolutely great. So I'd have those three for dinner.
That's brilliant. That'd be a great table, that, wouldn't it? That'd be a great table. So do you listen to podcasts? If so, do you have three that you'd recommend?
To be fair, I am more of a reader than a podcast listener. But if I do, so there's one thing that I listen to every day, and that is, you know, Brendan Burchard?
Yeah.
So High Performance Habits, he's got quite a few books. So he has an app called Growth Day, and it's basically a journaling app. So it's something that I don't do it every day. I'm trying to get better at journaling, because I've read and watched all the stuff about how great it is and how it makes you more self-aware. But in his journaling app, he has like a 20-minute daily podcast. And it's almost like he's talking to me like this. You know, when you listen to somebody, like, that's exactly what I'm thinking. So I listen to a lot of Brendan Burchard's podcasts. I'm a very big fan of his. And I do also listen to, although they're not consistent and they're not that prolific, but when Tony Robbins releases a podcast episode, I listen to that as well. But yeah, I'm more of a reader, to be fair.
Cool. Well, let's go on to the next question then. What are sort of top three books that you'd recommend?
So one of them is it's called The Road Less Stupid by Keith Cunningham. And I discovered this book earlier in the year, did a My TV on it. I then saw he's like a speaker at Tony Robbins stuff, but I had this book recommended to me. And it is really, I find it, so it's basically like lessons from the board. So it's like lessons that he's learned in business. And at the end of each chapter, it's summarized on a bumper sticker. Like, it's quite an American kind of book. But the topics and the lessons and the things I feel are very different to most business books. It's really smart. I'm not going to do it justice by talking about it. It's just, I would highly recommend that you give it a whirl and read it. It's just, it comes up with each chapter. It's the kind of chapter where it comes up with this big thinking point, and you'll end it and you'll go, okay, I can't read any more of this book at the moment. I need to think about what he's just said, because that is actually really profound. Yeah, it's really great. I bought my ops manager it as well, because I think it's just got very smart ways to think about business. So that's The Road Less Stupid. And then the second one that I love, and I'm actually reading it for the third time at the moment, is Built to Sell by John Warrillow. It's not Martin Warrillow. Yeah, John Warrillow. So he specializes in building and selling businesses. And the book is a little bit like it's like, I don't know if the word's parable or story. Do you know, like the E-Myth is a story about the woman with the pie shop. So Built to Sell is a story about a guy called Alex who has a digital marketing agency. And he realizes that he is stuck in the middle of his business and every single decision, and they do all these things for different people, and he wants to sell his business. His mentor tells him that his business isn't saleable because Alex, you're stuck right in the middle of it. And it goes through this journey where he decides to focus on one thing, get a methodology behind it, get a sales team, and create a simpler, scalable business. And there's just loads of really good takeaways from it. There's loads of like stories in it where he opens his inbox and there's lots of like fires in there for him to respond to, because he's part of every project going on. There's not like stuff happening independently from him. So I'm on my third read of that at the moment, and Built to Sell is a really great book.
I'll have a look at that. I love the way that you're talking about them and reviewing them as well. It's phenomenal. That's a podcast in itself. That's great. It's really good.
Yeah, I do really love a good book, especially the business ones. But you know, when some of them, they really grip you and you're like, oh, wow. You just want to like go and do something about what you've just read. Yeah,
I
those
got
two.
that. I got that with Shoe Dog by
Oh
Phil.
my
And
goodness.
that book, I couldn't put it down. I just wanted to keep going just to see what was going to happen. It's so gripping, isn't it?
It was so gripping. And for me, that's the kind of book that will make a lot of business owners feel better. Do you know what I mean? Because like Phil Knight's story was like bankrupt, nearly bankrupt, and then at the very, very end, he's like, wow, I'm really, really rich. So, but that was like over a really long period of time, wasn't it? It was like, was it 20, 30 years, maybe longer, until they got bought out at the end. I know that book is fantastic.
Overnight success, wasn't he?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I feel like anybody who's got any kind of like trouble in their business, you read that and you're like, oh, right, okay, this is that. Yeah, this is normal.
Just get used to it, just to get used to it. So have you got a third one? Third book?
What is a third? I mean, the E-Myth was the first thing that I ever read and made me realize, and I guess, I mean, I feel like it's kind of one of those business ABC books for a lot of people. It's the first thing you read and it makes you realize like, oh, right, okay, this is how you start to get yourself out of the weeds. So that's probably, I mean, I've read it probably 4 or 5 times, but that's probably the first thing that probably had one of the biggest impacts on me to start reading about the woman with the cherry pie shop, to go, okay, I get now how, you know, especially in the beginning when I was employing people to deliver the PA support and systems and processes. That was like a big one for me in the beginning.
Brilliant. Also, I love the E-Myth. I think it's great, but I also found a book called Traction was very good as well. And it's a lot more about business, isn't it? And of course, how you structure businesses and put those together. So the E-Myth's great for the foundations, I find, and getting that sort of mindset there. But I really enjoyed Traction for like, this is how I can scale my business now.
Yeah, that's more like the how-to, isn't it? Of when you get a bit bigger of actually what to do. Yeah, no, you're totally right. When I read that, then I realized how I guess same as you, in that I am like, I've got ideas coming out of my head. You know, I've got a lot of ideas that I would love to implement, but I love starting things. Do I love actually taking it all through to the end? Probably not. And I have got an integrator. So Matt's my ops manager. You need an integrator to get stuff done. And that's when it really brought home to me in that book, Traction, of okay, yeah, you are the person that's got all the ideas. That's why you're not implementing stuff and seeing it. You need somebody who's like, okay, what we're doing next, right? Can we? Yeah. So yeah, Traction's fantastic.
What we should do is we should do another podcast later on and do a book club.
That would be great.
I think we can fill it with all just the books that we love and know. Emma, it's been absolutely amazing and fantastic to have you on. For the listeners, anybody that's interested in reaching out to you, what's the best ways to do so?
So our website is MI. So we're an MI. We're not an MY. Simply because the domain wasn't available 14 years ago. So we're an mi-pa.co.uk. And my Instagram is probably where I hang out the most, which is Emma My PA. Those 2 places.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I'll put links in the show notes and everything like that for people if they want to find out more and have a little look for themselves. Have you got any closing thoughts before we wrap this one up?
My closing thoughts are that for me personally this year, I very much realized that you need to be enjoying the journey while you're doing it, while you're creating and growing your business. And most often I feel like people stop enjoying that journey because they are stuck in doing stuff that they don't like. They're overwhelmed. They don't have any boundaries around people contact. Sorry, that's my alarm going off. Around people contacting them. Yeah. Yeah, so my closing thoughts would be, if you feel stuck in the weeds, you feel like you just can't see the way forward, then I would really look at getting some support, because like you said earlier in the episode, it doesn't have to be a full-time person. And we provide it. There are lots of different options to do it. But for me, one of the first things of enjoying your business, of enjoying the journey, is getting other people to do the things you don't like so you can focus on what you love. I call it focus on the fun stuff. Like focus on if you could only do what you love, who else is going to do the rest of it? That's what I feel like should be a focus for 2023 for people.
No, that's brilliant. That's brilliant. Well, once again, thank you ever so much for coming on. It's been an absolute joy and a pleasure to have you. We'll put links to everything in the show notes, and hopefully, maybe in 6-12 months time, we'll get you back on again and see how you're growing and how you're doing. That'd be great.
That would be fab. Another Christmas special. Yeah.
Yeah, why not? Why not? Get ready for 2024 back then. So no, it's been great for you joining us here today as well. I hope you keep focusing on your vision, keep chasing those goals, look after yourself, and hopefully you'll come and join me in the next episode. You'll take care, and bye for now.